What is going on, everybody? So I'm here at the shop right now, and I'm making this video because I'm going to a customer's house that's dealing with really bad brown algae issues, and more specifically dinoflagellates. And it has just covered his rock work, his sand bed. It's really bad. Now the aquarium has been up for 7 months, but it's a big tank. I think it's about 400-gallon display alone. She started with all dry rock and all technically live sand, but I mean it's pretty much dry sand. So I wanted to document this process of how we service this tank and how we're going to take care of this algae, because this is one of the main problems I see in the hobby. Whether I'm in the shop and people come in and tell me that they're dealing with brown algae, or I go service customers' tanks, brown algae seems to be one of the biggest problems people are dealing with. And unfortunately, a lot of people get out of the hobby because they just can't find a way around it. They're losing corals. They get frustrated. So I wanted to make this video to document the process and how we're dealing with brown algae, a really bad case of dinoflagellates in this customer's aquarium. Now, he's not the only customer that we have that's dealing with this. We have several customers, which I'll show you their tanks in a second. But I really want to zero in on this one tank, and this will be the first of many videos, and we'll see the progression of this tank over time. This will be part one, and we'll go through it. So I'm gonna pack up right now. We're gonna head there. Let's take a look at the aquarium. But first, I want to show you what it looked like before week one when we started, and now let's look at week two.
All right, so here was the aquarium 1 week from today, and this is when it really first started getting bad. You can look at the sand bed and see the dinoflagellates there. Now, under blue lights, this could be easily mistaken for hair algae, but under white lights, you can clearly see that brown, slimy look, and it's just really nasty looking. And not only dinoflagellates just ugly, they are very toxic too. So you can see they're really starting to bother these torch corals. Now, a couple weeks back, these torch corals were looking healthy, big, they were fully extended. Now they're really stressed out and they're retracted, which is a serious problem that we're gonna have to keep an eye out. But also, he had a bunch of cleanup crew in here, so snails and things like that, and other invertebrates, urchins, and they all died. The dinoflagellates, in my opinion, killed them all. They are toxic to those creatures. So this is a pretty severe situation. I haven't seen many outbreaks of dinoflagellates this bad. At this point, I was a bit worried. I was wondering what we should do. My approach at this moment was to go ahead and this is a 400-gallon tank. I did about 175-gallon water change on this aquarium just to get any type of toxins that might be too much in the water that could be bothering the coral. And we also are going to double up. We also doubled up on the carbon to try to get any toxins out. This was the tank today, so a week later, and you can see that water change must have helped because the torches are looking much healthier. They're extended out more. I got the flow off right now, but I'm seeing a slight improvement. The customer did put, we found a type of dinos that can be killed with UV. So he put his UV sterilizer on, so that will help at night when the dinoflagellates are in the water columns, so the UV can hit the ones that will be killed by the UV. But there's several different types of dinoflagellates. I'm not going to get into that right now, all the different types. Maybe in another video, if you guys like to see that, we can do that. But right now, I'm just kind of keep this as general as possible. Now, there's obviously still a pretty bad outbreak, and I'm going to skip the water change for today, because we just did one a week ago. I don't want to get too crazy with it. His nitrates and phosphates are under control. They're looking pretty good. I think right now what we do is we take a sample, bring it back to the shop, and we look and see what kind of dinoflagellates we're dealing with, what's left. I think it looks slightly better than it did before. I know you can't tell there's much of a difference. It's easier to see in person. But I just wanted you guys to see how bad this situation is. Because if anybody's dealing with this, I wanted you to fully understand the scope of what we're having to deal with here. So if we're successful, you guys can maybe copy this method. Now we have a customer who has a fully quarantined tank that we started, and it's well established. It's growing every type of coral, and I'm going to use some of their filter floss, and I'm going to put it into this tank, kind of almost like a probiotic, to seed this tank with beneficial things.
One thing I want to add is he has an algae scrubber, and this thing is custom made, and it kicks ass. Look at this. Look at all the algae on there. So that's influencing his nitrates and phosphates, which are, to me, I think are perfect. But look at that. Look at the growth on this on front to back. I think I'm a bigger fan of algae scrubbers than I am of refugiums, for the simple fact that they take up less space, and I think this hair algae
this type of algae grows a lot quicker than like a chaeto and your other macroalgae. So I love algae reactors. They are a little bit more expensive to do and could possibly take a little bit more maneuvering. There's a little bit more work to them, but I think they're great. Look at all the algae I've already taken off. While we're here, I just wanted to show you the control system to this aquarium. It is custom, it is all smart, it is high tech, it is amazing. This system's gonna get all the love and attention. That's why it's so important to try to really battle this dinoflagellates. So I got that sample of the algae, the different algae in the tank. I took some from the back glass and some from the sand. So we're gonna put that under the microscope once we get back to the shop. But I just wanted to add, this tank started with dry rock and dry sand. And you know, back in the day, brown algae didn't seem to be as big of a problem because people use live rock and it came with all little beneficial critters in there that would break down the dinoflagellates and prevent these things from happening. But they also came in with a bunch of terrible things too that could wreck your reef tank and hurt your fish. So I'm a big believer still in starting in dry rock. Listen, when you have such a beautiful aquarium, it's really hard to have it look like this. I understand, but it's going to take patience. This is part of the process. And I'm definitely going to keep you guys informed going forward.
Looking great, Tommy.
Thanks. Are we ready?
We're good to go.
All right, so brown algae, when we're dealing with them in people's tanks, typically what we do first is we focus on nitrates and phosphates. If those are out of whack, we get them back in range. If we get brown algae growing and the nitrates are fine, or fixing the nitrates and phosphates doesn't remove the brown algae from the system, then we're going to try either UV or sodium silicate. So if it's a species that isn't treated by UV, then you're going to want to run sodium silicate, create a big diatom bloom. Diatoms will outcompete the dinoflagellates. And then once there's no more dinoflagellates showing up in the microscope, that's when you know you're good to stop dosing the sodium silicate. Super safe treatment, works really well, doesn't damage your biological or microbial communities in the way that like Dino X would.
Now, in extreme cases, I've used something like a Dino X to get rid of dinoflagellates. But again, that's in extreme cases. I don't like to use chemicals. I like to try to go as natural as possible. But one thing I can say, if you're good about staying on this and dosing it properly, it works amazing. This is a great product. For sure it works. I've used it in the past before with great success. But we like going the natural route just because we won't take any variable or any chance of something going wrong out. And this is something you have to dose like every other day or every 3 days or something like that. And we're not able to be at the customer's tank that often. So unless you have it on doser or the customer's gonna dose it, it's just easier to go a natural method as opposed to us being at the customer's tank to dose this every day or relying on the customer to be able to dose it correctly.
Yeah, and if you're going to put this on a doser, you better make really sure that your doser is calibrated and you're putting exactly the right amount in there, because you slightly overdose this, you're going to have a real bad time.
So I got the sample and I got excited, and forgive me for not being able to film this perfectly. I'll try to film it better next time, but I just got super excited because I saw something I've never seen before. Now, by no means am I an expert. So those little brown floaty things right there that look like seeds almost, that's dinoflagellates. And then the green right there, that appears to be hair algae or some type of algae, right? But if we look, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry for the terrible filming. If we look right there, look at that little critter. What's inside of it? That looks like dinoflagellates inside its stomach, right? This is very interesting to me. And like I said, by no means am I an expert, but this thing seems to be, in my opinion, preying on the dinoflagellates. There's several of these little critters that are in here, which I'm gonna find out what these are, and I'm gonna keep everybody up to date. But I just got excited and I wanted to share this because not many opportunities will have to be here at the microscope at work, but there's a bunch of these in there, and some of them don't have any of those dinoflagellates in them. Some of them are just clear, so that's not its natural coloring. And I watched one grab a dinoflagellate, and it ate it. It looks like it ate it. This is pretty incredible stuff right now here. Yeah, we got some work to do here. This is exciting. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm not clear what this is. If anybody knows what this could be, please put it down in the comments. But this is very exciting stuff. And it's only been, I've never seen this before, so I'm not sure what it could be. But there's definitely dinoflagellates in here. Not a lot of diatoms in this sample. Not as much as I was expecting. So we still got a pretty bad dinoflagellate outbreak. I'll have to identify the exact kind so we can figure out how to treat it, but I just had to show you that. And I'm just kind of skimming through here to see what else I can find in this sample. I mean, we got all types of critters. There's another one of those little things right there. Got some pods in here. Yeah, look, there's a copepod right there. Yeah, so this is why you put your water samples under the microscope. It's a whole new world under here, and you can get a better understanding with what you're dealing with. So I'm gonna take this information, I'm gonna say bring it to Tommy. He's a marine biologist, and he'll know a lot more about this situation than I do. You can see there's some more of those things there. And yeah, I will again, this is exciting stuff. I'm hoping, knock on wood, and I'll definitely keep you guys posted and keep you up to date on what we're looking at here. It's so cool looking under the microscope. It's just a whole new world underneath here. So much fun. I could do this all day. It's so cool. I honestly want to just take samples from everybody's tank, and I think I'm gonna start doing that and just looking under the microscope and see what we're looking at and see if I can notice any type of trends between like successful tanks and tanks that are troubled. And I promise I'll do a better job filming it. I promise you. Look, there's those things again. All right, here's another aquarium that's just been dealing with tons of diatoms, dinoflagellates. I don't know. I gotta look at it under the microscope, but it is just become absolutely insane. And you can see they got a sand sifting starfish, which obviously he's not doing anything. But yeah, every square inch of this whole sand bed, except for underneath the rock where it's shaded, is completely covered in brown algae. Now the rocks, these are new rocks. These are mostly new rocks. So like this piece right here is a brand new rock. That's gonna take time to cure. So there's some stuff on there, but it looks like it's going away for the most part. There's some new rock over here, another new arch right there. That was covered. It seems to be going away. So on the rocks, it's looking much better. But the sand in this tank is always giving us a problem. And if you see that red slime right there, that's actually not cyanobacteria. That is, I looked under the microscope, it looked like some type of spirulina. So I'm not crazy worried about that, but yeah, I'm more worried about this sand. We just recently replaced some of the sand and put a couple new bags in. I would say that's about 2 months ago. And so that's obviously got time to settle in, but this is just getting worse. So we're going to add some Nacera snails to the tank. And that will at least keep the sand stirred up. About 20 of these guys to the tank today. And the idea is just to keep the sand stirred up as much as possible. These guys don't feed on anything in the sand, in the substrate. They'll eat like leftover, detritus, fish food, and fish waste. So they're great scavengers, great part of the cleanup crew. Being honest, I think that it's this light. This is an old school light. What is it? It's a reef, what's it called? A reef breeder. This is very old. This light's gotta be going on, I mean, close to 10 years or something like that. And this whole side of the tank used to be covered with blue discosoma mushrooms. Monopora was growing in here, was coming back. And then I think this light just took a turn and it started doing bad. And I think that's why he's not able to keep the corals he was able to keep before. And I think that's what's allowing these brown algae to take off. I think it's the LEDs. I've seen this before. I've seen literally where half the LEDs went out and this half of the tank looked terrible. This half of the LEDs were good and this side of the tank looked amazing. This is my hunch. This is what I am thinking. I think that light needs to be replaced, and I think we would see a drastic difference. Now, things like these pallies, these kind of like whatever pallies and these toadstools, and some of these corals, they're fine with a bad light, not great light. But you're not gonna be able to keep anything else without really good PAR, really good spectrum. And I think that's what's happening. I think these are just dying out. So trying to have that conversation to get new lighting in here, I think is going to be something I'm going to suggest, because there's no other explanation why there should be brown algae in this sand. The nitrates are elevated, not too elevated to where they'd be a problem. The phosphates are elevated, but not too elevated. So the water chemistry tests out fine. I know for sure because our saltwater, he gets his saltwater from us, he gets his fresh water from us. There's no reason why this tank should be struggling. All right, so that's where we're gonna leave it for today. I'm gonna update you guys as much as I possibly can on the on any progress with this aquarium. I'll probably end up naming this and putting it in a playlist, so when it's finally finished, you guys can track the trajectory of how we've gone from where we're at now to hopefully being successful and having a nice white sand bed and not dealing with this stuff. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, like always, put it down below. See you in the next one.